In the year 2094, the intrepid crew of the starship Orion gazed through the reinforced viewports as they descended into the atmosphere of planet Xylurian. The surface of the planet was a collage of shimmering blues and greens, punctuated by stark gray mountains that pierced the horizon like jagged teeth. The planet, marked on star charts as unconquerable due to its volatile weather and unknown dangers, had thwarted previous explorations. But this time, humanity's relentless curiosity, bolstered by the latest advancements in space travel and survival technology, had brought them here. Captain Alara Miles stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the readouts and her mind racing with the possibilities of what they might find. Beside her, Chief Scientist Dr. Rajiv Nair adjusted the sensors to penetrate the planet's thick, swirling clouds, searching for a suitable landing site. "Looks like we've got a break in the weather system to the north of those highland plateaus," Dr. Nair pointed out, his voice calm yet tinged with excitement. The digital map on his screen zoomed into an area where the harsh winds seemed to lessen. Alara nodded, her decision made in an instant. "Set us down there. If we're going to find anything on Xylurian, it'll be on solid ground where we can actually walk around." The descent was turbulent, the ship shaking as it passed through layers of dense atmospheric gases. The crew held their breath, not just from the rough ride but also from the anticipation of setting foot on a world that had never been touched by humans. Once the Orion touched down, the landing party suited up in their high-tech gear, designed to withstand the planet's extremes. Alara led the group, which included Dr. Nair, Engineer Mia Zhao, and Security Officer Jonah Richter. They stepped out onto the surface, their boots crunching on the gravelly soil, tinted with an odd, iridescent sheen under the planet's twin suns. The landscape was eerily silent, with only the sound of their breathing apparatus disturbing the quiet. They started their survey, instruments in hand, scanning for any sign of life or usable resources. Mia, who was tasked with geological samples, suddenly stopped by a rocky outcrop near a large cave mouth glowing faintly with some internal light. "Captain, you might want to see this," Mia called out, kneeling. She brushed aside some dust, revealing a series of deep indentations in the soil. They were footprints, unmistakably left by something that walked on two legs, something not human. Alara crouched beside her, examining the prints. They had a strange, elongated shape with 6 toe-like structures that suggested a creature perfectly adapted to the rough, uneven terrain of Xylurian. "Dr. Nair, do these match any known species in our database?" Alara asked, her voice betraying a mix of awe and concern. After a moment of analysis, Dr. Nair shook his head. "No match found. Whatever made these isn't in our records. We may be the first to encounter it." The discovery shifted the mission's priorities instantaneously. What was a routine exploratory mission now turned into a potential first contact scenario. The crew was abuzz with theories and questions as they set up equipment to cast the footprints for further analysis. "Let's follow the trail," Alara decided, her eyes tracing the line of footprints that led towards the illuminated cave. "But keep your guards up. We don't know what's waiting for us." As they approached the cave, the light within grew stronger, casting eerie shadows over the rocky walls. The footprints continued inside, suggesting that the creature, or creatures, used this place regularly. Jonah, with his hand near his weapon, was the first to step into the cave. The light, they discovered, came from clusters of glowing crystals embedded in the walls, their light pulsating softly as if breathing. The cave stretched deep and winding into the heart of the mountain. Following the footprints, the team delved deeper into the planet's mysteries, each step taking them further into the unknown. The air grew warmer, and a low hum, almost imperceptible, vibrated through the ground. "We're not just dealing with a new species," Dr. Nair murmured, looking around in wonder. "We're dealing with a whole new world of possibilities." As they moved forward, their lights flickering over ancient, alien symbols etched into the cave walls, Alara felt a chill of excitement. Xylurian was unconquerable no more. They were about to uncover secrets that could change everything they knew about the universe. But first, they had to meet the owners of those mysterious footprints. After the discovery of the non-human footprints inside the luminous cave, Captain Alara Miles convened an emergency meeting with her core team aboard the Orion. The atmosphere in the conference room was thick with anticipation and a fair share of trepidation. "All right, team, we've stumbled upon something extraordinary," Alara began, her voice firm yet infused with excitement. She gestured to the 3D hologram projected in the center of the table, showing the detailed scans of the footprints they had encountered. "These aren't just random markings. They're a clear sign of intelligent life, possibly still active on Xylerian." Dr. Rajiv Nair, his eyes flickering over the data displayed, chimed in. "The analysis suggests these creatures could be bipedal, based on the stride and depth of the impressions. This aligns with an advanced vertebrate, likely capable of tool usage given the organized nature of the cave system." Security Officer Jonah Richter shifted uncomfortably. "What's our protocol here, Captain? Are we considering a potential threat scenario?" Alara nodded at Jonah, acknowledging his concerns. "We keep our eyes open for any signs of hostility, but our primary objective remains exploration and understanding. We need more data. I want non-invasive studies. No interaction unless absolutely necessary." Engineer Mia Zhao, who had been quiet, looked up from her tablet. "I've set up environmental sensors and motion detectors around the cave and the surrounding area. If anything moves, we'll know. Plus, the drones are ready to map out the cave system. It's vast and could hold more clues about these beings." "Good work, Mia. Keep monitoring any changes in the geological stability of the area as well," Alara responded, then turned to Dr. Nair. "Rajiv, I want you to focus on those symbols we found etched on the cave walls. They could be a language, which means we might be able to establish some form of communication." Dr. Nair's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "Absolutely, Captain. I've already started compiling data for a linguistic analysis. It's fascinating. Preliminary results suggest a complex syntax that might indicate a rich cultural heritage." The team set out with their tasks clearly defined. Alara decided to accompany the drone exploration team back to the cave, needing to see the developments firsthand. As they re-entered the cave, the bioluminescent glow from the crystals cast ghostly shadows, giving the ancient space an almost sacred ambience. Deep inside the cave, the drones buzzed ahead, their lights and sensors piecing together a detailed map of the network that sprawled beneath the planet's surface. The path followed the footprints, which occasionally intersected with artifacts, tools made from an unknown metallic compound, containers possibly used for food or water, and more symbols etched into the cave walls. "These symbols are repeated. See here? This sequence appears several times along the path," Dr. Nair pointed out, photographing each instance meticulously. "It could be indicative of a warning, a marker of territory, or something ceremonial." As they progressed deeper into the network, Mia's tablet beeped. A motion detector had been triggered near the cave's entrance. Instantly, the team tensed, watching the live feed from a stationary camera they had set up. A shadow flitted across the screen, too quick to make out a form but undeniably deliberate in its movement. Jonah readied his weapon, his other hand reaching to communicate with the ship. "Orion, we have potential movement at the cave entrance. We might not be alone here." Alara signaled for calm, her mind racing. "Hold positions. Mia, can you get the drones to give us visuals on the entrance?" Working swiftly, Mia redirected the nearest drone back to the cave entrance. The feed flickered onto their tablets. There was nothing visible now, but the environmental readings showed a slight increase in temperature and a disruption in the local electromagnetic field. "It's possible they know we're here," Alara said quietly. "We must proceed with caution but also with respect. This is their home, and we are the intruders." With a newfound sense of responsibility, the team continued their exploration, collecting samples and data, each step forward marked by an awareness that they were not only uncovering the secrets of a new world but potentially paving the way for an unprecedented interstellar relationship. As they delved further into the heart of Xylerian's mysteries, each member of the team felt the weight of what this mission might mean for humanity and the universe at large. As the team delved deeper into the cave, the air grew cooler and denser, a stark contrast to the balmy atmosphere they had initially encountered at the surface of Xylurian. The bioluminescent glow from the crystals dimmed intermittently, creating a mesmerizing yet eerie ambience that underscored the unknown surrounding them. Captain Alara Miles, leading from the front with her handheld scanner, paused periodically to check the environmental readings which flickered on her device. The cave eventually opened into a wider cavern, the ceiling arching high above, studded with crystals that cast a soothing, azure light across the expansive space. The ground underfoot was smooth, polished by centuries of use, suggesting this area was frequently traversed by the cave's inhabitants. "Looks like we've found a central hub or gathering place," whispered Dr. Rajiv Nair, his voice reverberating softly against the stone walls. His eyes roved excitedly over the intricate carvings that adorned the cavern walls, depictions of celestial alignments, flora, and fauna, and scenes of daily life that provided a glimpse into the culture of the beings who called this place home. As they ventured toward the center of the cavern, Engineer Mia Zhao's sensors beeped rapidly, indicating multiple organic presences nearby. "We've got movement." "Multiple signals just ahead," she reported, adjusting her equipment to refine the data. Jonah Richter instinctively moved ahead, his security training kicking in, his hand steady on his sidearm, though he hoped it wouldn't be necessary to use it. "Positions, everyone. Stay alert," he commanded quietly, his eyes scanning the shadows that danced along the cavern walls. The team arranged themselves back to back, forming a circle as they moved slowly forward. The tension was palpable, each member ready for any possibility. Suddenly, a series of soft, melodic tones filled the air, echoing around the cavern. The sounds were structured, almost musical, composed of pitches and timbres that were soothing yet utterly foreign. From the shadows, figures emerged, tall, slender beings with translucent skin that shimmered with a subtle iridescence under the cave's light. Their eyes were large and expressive, reflecting a cautious curiosity as they regarded the human intruders. These were the Xylians, the elusive inhabitants of Xylurian. Alara held up her hand, signaling her team to hold their positions and lower their weapons. "We come in peace," she announced, her voice amplified by her helmet's speaker. "We mean no harm." The Xylians paused, their heads tilting slightly as if deciphering her words. After a moment, one of the beings stepped forward, its movements graceful and composed. In a display of trust, or perhaps a customary greeting, the Xylian touched its chest with its hand, then extended the same hand outward toward Alara. Dr. Nair, ever the linguist, quickly activated the universal translator he had been tweaking since their arrival. "Let's see if we can understand them," he murmured, adjusting the settings. The lead Xylian spoke, its voice a harmonious blend of sounds that the device began to translate with minor delays. "You are not of Xylurian. Why do you invade our sanctum?" Alara took a cautious step forward, lowering her visor to show her face, a gesture of goodwill. "We are explorers from Earth, seeking knowledge and understanding. We found your footprints and followed them here, hoping to learn," she explained, her tone respectful and open. The Xylian regarded her for a long moment, its gaze penetrating. Then, it responded, "Many cycles ago, others came. They took much and left destruction. We hide to survive, to protect." The atmosphere shifted as the team absorbed the gravity of the Xylian's words. Alara felt a pang of sadness, recognizing the all-too-familiar narrative of exploitation that seemed to follow her species. "We are not those others," Alara assured earnestly. "We wish to learn, not take. We seek friendship and exchange, if you will allow." The Xylian seemed to consider her words, then turned and spoke softly to its companions. After a brief discussion, it looked back at Alara. "We will observe. We will learn your intent. Then, we decide." Nodding in agreement, Alara gestured to her team to lower their equipment and not make any sudden moves. As the Xylians communicated among themselves, Dr. Nair took the opportunity to record and analyze their language, hopeful that this encounter would pave the way for meaningful dialogue and cultural exchange. This unexpected meeting marked a critical turning point in their mission, a moment filled with potential for new alliances or devastating misunderstandings. As the Zillions retreated into the shadows of the cavern, the Orion crew set up a temporary camp at the cavern's edge, under the watchful eyes of their mysterious hosts, preparing for the delicate dance of diplomacy that lay ahead. Under the watchful gaze of their new hosts, the crew of the Orion established a small, unobtrusive base at the edge of the cavern. Captain Alara Miles initiated a protocol of non-aggression and cultural respect, which meant no further exploration without explicit permission from the Zillions. The crew's primary focus shifted to observation and communication, underpinned by a cautious optimism about the potential for interspecies understanding. Over the next several days, the Zillions remained elusive yet observant, often appearing from the shadows to watch the humans, their large, luminescent eyes reflecting a complex mix of curiosity and caution. Dr. Rajiv Nair, alongside his linguistics team, worked tirelessly on the translations, utilizing the data gathered during their brief interactions to refine the universal translator's accuracy. "It's a remarkably complex language," Dr. Nair explained to Alara during one of their strategy meetings. "Every gesture, every inflection seems to carry layers of meaning. It's not just a means of communication but an expression of their culture's depth and history." Meanwhile, engineer Mia Zhao and her team had begun a series of non-intrusive environmental studies, analyzing the unique flora and fauna of Xylurian that the Zillions appeared to coexist within a symbiotic relationship. "The ecosystem here is tightly interwoven. The Zillions are not just residents but caretakers," Mia reported, showing images of Zillions tending to bioluminescent plants and engaging in what appeared to be ritualistic environmental conservation practices. This revelation provided a new angle of approach for Captain Miles. She proposed a cultural exchange, offering knowledge of human technology and medical advances in exchange for understanding the Zillions' environmental techniques. The offer was communicated during a formal meeting, facilitated by the now more reliable translator technology. Alara presented a small, portable medical scanner to the Zillions as a gesture of goodwill, explaining its benefits in diagnosing and treating common ailments. The leader of the Zillions, whom they had begun to call Seneth based on the translation, expressed cautious interest. "Your tools are advanced, but they are cold," Seneth remarked, his tone reflecting a mix of respect and reservation. "Our ways grow from Xylurian herself, nurtured by her needs and gifts." This opened the door for what became an ongoing dialogue about technology and tradition. The crew was invited to observe a planting ceremony, a rhythmic, graceful ritual involving the entire community. The ceremony was a dance of sorts, with each movement and chant seeming to stimulate the growth of the glowing plants that lit the caverns. Jonah Richter, the security officer, found himself drawn to the Zillions' approach to community safety. "They have no weapons, no guards as we know them. Yet there's a sense of order and protection that's palpable," he noted during a debrief. He spent time learning from the Zillions about their social structures, which were based on mutual respect and shared responsibilities rather than enforcement. As these exchanges deepened, barriers began to dissolve. The Zillions shared more about their history, revealing artifacts and ancient scripts that told stories of past visitors from the stars who had not been as respectful of Xylurian. It was a history marked by exploitation and conflict, which had driven the Zillions into the shadows, wary of outsiders. "We must understand the past to navigate the present," Seneth explained as he guided Alara through a gallery of carved reliefs depicting their history. "Your presence reopens old wounds, but it also brings new hope." The crew documented everything, from the Zillions' agricultural techniques to their philosophical beliefs about the interconnectedness of life. In exchange, they held workshops to teach the Zillions about human technologies that could aid in resource management without disrupting their ecosystem. This cultural immersion not only enriched the crew's understanding but also paved the way for a deeper, mutual respect between the two species. As trust grew, so did the collaborative efforts. The Zillions, once reserved, now frequently initiated exchanges, eager to share and learn. In her log entries, Captain Miles reflected on the progress. "We came seeking knowledge of the unknown. What we found was a reminder of the universal truths that connect all sentient beings: respect for life, the value of community, and the importance of preserving our homes. As the days turned into weeks, what had started as a cautious expedition had blossomed into a promising partnership, pointing towards a future where humans and Xiliens could coexist and prosper together. But as they learned from each other, a new challenge loomed on the horizon, threatening the fragile peace they had begun to build. The growing bond between the crew of the Orion and the Xiliens faced its first major test when the ship's long-range sensors detected an unauthorized vessel entering Xylerian's orbit. Initial scans indicated that it wasn't just any spacecraft, but a marauder ship known for plundering uncharted planets. The sudden appearance of this new threat cast a shadow over the burgeoning trust and collaboration between the two cultures. Captain Alara Miles convened an urgent meeting with her senior officers and Zenith, the Xilian leader, to strategize their response. The atmosphere in the room was tense, with the stakes now higher than ever. Alara addressed the group with a somber tone. This ship's presence threatens not just our mission but the very sovereignty of Xylerian and its people. We must stand together to protect this world. Zenith responded with a calm determination. Our ancestors faced many storms. We survived by learning and adapting. We will share in this challenge, as you have shared with us. Jonah Richter presented the tactical options. Our ship has defensive capabilities, but engaging them directly might escalate the situation. Instead, we can use the Orion stealth systems to obscure their sensors, buying us time to prepare a ground defense. Dr. Rajiv Nair suggested a diplomatic approach to delay or dissuade the attackers. If we can communicate our intentions and establish that this planet is under protection, they might reconsider their approach to avoid conflict with the united front. Meanwhile, engineer Mia Zhao and her team worked with the Xiliens to fortify the cave system, utilizing both human technology and Xilian knowledge of the terrain. They implemented a network of environmental camouflage and created hidden barriers that could be activated to confuse and slow any ground assault. As preparations advanced, Alara took a moment to address both her crew and the Xilian community, reinforcing the importance of unity. Today, we stand together not as humans and Xiliens, but as allies defending a home. Your trust in us will not be misplaced. The Marauders made their first move sooner than expected. A small contingent of armed scouts descended onto the planet's surface, aiming to secure a landing zone. Their advance was slow, hindered by the unfamiliar and rugged terrain, which played to the defenders' advantage. Using the cover of the dense, glowing foliage, Xilian scouts, adept at moving silently and unseen, relayed positions back to the Orion's tactical team. This allowed Jonah and his security team to deploy drones that created holographic diversions, disorienting the invaders and disrupting their coordination. As the Marauders regrouped, trying to make sense of the bewildering landscape and phantom enemies, a second team led by Mia implemented Phase 2 of their plan. They activated a series of non-lethal traps that released thick clouds of bioluminescent spores into the air. The spores, harmless to the ecosystem but startling and disorienting to the uninitiated, caused confusion and hesitation among the invaders. The confrontation reached a critical point when the Marauder ship, realizing their ground team was compromised, threatened a direct assault from orbit. Alara, determined to avoid outright conflict, opened a channel to the Marauder captain. Her words were firm and clear, bolstered by the united presence of Xilian leaders visible in the transmission. Your efforts here are futile. This planet is under the protection of an allied force you are not prepared to challenge. Withdraw now, and no further action will be taken. Backed by visible displays of their combined forces and the strategic advantages of their position, the message was unambiguous. The Marauders, faced with an unexpectedly robust and unified resistance, and unable to navigate the layered defenses, finally conceded. The ship withdrew, leaving Xylerian's skies clear once again. In the aftermath, the relief among the crew and Xilian community was palpable, but so was the realization of the dangers they would continue to face as long as Xylerian remained a target for those who sought to exploit its resources. Alara and Zenith met to reflect on the events. Today, we defended your home, Alara said, gratitude and respect in her voice. But we know this might not be the last threat. We should consider long-term defenses, both technological and diplomatic. Zenith nodded, his expression thoughtful. We have learned much from each other. Let us use this knowledge not just to defend but to teach others about the value of what we have here. This ordeal had not only tested but ultimately strengthened the alliance between the humans and Xiliens, forging a deeper bond rooted in shared challenges and mutual victories. Together, they began planning for the future, aware that the peace they enjoyed now was precious and, potentially, fleeting. In the wake of the Marauder withdrawal, the unity between the crew of the Orion and the Xiliens had never been stronger. The threat had galvanized their resolve to protect Xylerian and fostered a deeper understanding and respect for each other's strengths and capabilities. As they gathered to discuss the next steps, it was clear that this newfound alliance would lead to innovative strategies for safeguarding the planet. Captain Alara Miles initiated the session with a strong note of appreciation for the courage and cooperation shown by all. This collaboration has not just defended a planet, it has laid the groundwork for a formidable partnership. Let's build on this momentum and set up defenses that integrate our advanced technology with the Xiliens' unparalleled knowledge of the land. Seneth, the Xilian leader, agreed, his voice resonating with a new confidence. The invaders saw only a fraction of what we can achieve together. Let's develop a plan that utilizes both our capabilities to their fullest extent. We need to think about both physical defenses and strategic diplomacy. The plan that emerged was multifaceted, focusing on both immediate defenses and long-term strategies. Engineer Mia Zhao took the lead on the technological front, working closely with Xilian engineers to create a series of surveillance satellites that would orbit Xylerian, providing real-time data on any approaching threats. These satellites were designed to blend into the natural cosmic background, making them difficult for invaders to detect. On the ground, Jonah Richter and Xilian security specialists mapped out the terrain to identify strategic points for defense installations. They decided on a network of hidden sensor arrays and non-lethal defense mechanisms that could be activated remotely. This network would use the natural topography of the planet, such as its rugged mountains and dense forests, to create natural choke points. We can set up holographic projectors here, and here, Jonah pointed out on the map, indicating narrow passes in the mountain ranges surrounding the main habitation zones. Any unauthorized entry could trigger a maze of false pathways, leading them away from critical areas. As part of their long-term strategy, Dr. Rajiv Nair proposed the establishment of a cultural exchange program. Understanding between cultures is a powerful defense. We should invite representatives from other civilized planets to learn about Xylerian's culture and its value, creating allies across the stars who respect and support Xylerian's sovereignty. Seneth embraced this idea with enthusiasm. We have long kept to the shadows, fearing what might come from the stars. It's time we stepped into the light and shared our story. Let our planet be a meeting ground for peace and cooperation. With these plans in motion, the crew and the Xiliens worked tirelessly to implement them. The construction of the satellite network began with both human and Xilian engineers contributing their expertise. On the surface, teams worked to install the sensor arrays, integrating them so seamlessly into the environment that they were virtually invisible. Throughout this time, the cultural exchange program took shape. Representatives from various species began to arrive, drawn by stories of a new kind of alliance formed on the fringes of known space. They were welcomed into the Xilian community, where they learned about the planet's unique ecosystem, its inhabitants, and the mutual benefits of peace. Alara watched as these developments unfolded, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. We've turned a moment of crisis into a beacon of hope, she reflected in her log. This could be the beginning of a new era for interstellar relations. As the defenses solidified and the diplomatic ties strengthened, the Orion crew prepared for their eventual departure. The Xylerians had become more than hosts, they were allies and friends. The groundwork had been laid for a lasting legacy of peace and protection, a testament to what could be achieved when disparate beings chose to stand together. As the sons of Xylerian set behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the landscape, the lights from the newly installed defense systems twinkled like stars, mirroring the hopeful gaze of those who watched them. The planet was no longer an unconquerable world in the shadows, but a shining example of what unity and shared purpose could accomplish. The days leading up to the departure of the Orion were bittersweet for both the crew and the Xiliens. What had begun as a cautious expedition on an uncharted planet had flourished into a deep and abiding alliance, one built on shared challenges and mutual respect. As the final preparations were made, a sense of accomplishment mingled with a twinge of sadness at the prospect of parting ways. Captain Alara Miles spent her last days on Xylurian overseeing the final installations of the planetary defense systems and ensuring that the protocols for the cultural exchange were well established. She walked through the Xylian communities, now vibrant with the presence of interstellar visitors who came to learn about this once hidden society and its advanced ecological philosophies. One morning, as the twin suns of Xylurian rose, casting a golden glow over the dew-laden foliage, Alara joined Seneth and other Xylian leaders on a newly erected platform that overlooked the main community. Today marked the official inauguration of the Xylurian Peace and Cultural Exchange Center, a symbol of the planet's new role as a beacon of interstellar cooperation. As they stood before the gathering, comprising humans, Xylians, and numerous other galactic delegates, Alara felt the weight of the moment. She stepped forward to address the crowd, her voice carrying clearly over the assembly. Today, we stand on the soil of a world that was once marked as unconquerable, a term that signified danger and isolation. But together, we have redefined that term. Xylurian has taught us that the unconquerable is not about resisting change, but about embracing the courage to forge new paths and alliances. Cheers and applause echoed through the air, resonating against the backdrop of the lush Xylurian landscape. Alara continued, her eyes sweeping over the diverse audience. This center will serve as a hub for learning, sharing, and diplomacy, not just for Xylurian but for all who wish to be part of a community that values peace over conflict, and knowledge over ignorance. Seneth took the stage next, his presence calm and commanding. We have lived in the shadows for too long, fearing that the stars above were harbingers of doom. The Orion and her crew have shown us that the stars also bring light and hope. Let this center be a place where that light is nurtured and spread throughout the galaxies. As the speeches concluded, the delegates toured the new facilities, which included conference rooms, educational halls, and ecological labs where Xylurian and human technologies were showcased side by side. The center was not just a place for meetings, it was a living exhibit of the symbiosis between different cultures and their environments. In the following days, the crew of the Orion worked closely with the Xylian counterparts to train them on operating and maintaining the defense systems. Simultaneously, Dr. Rajiv Nair and his team compiled and digitized vast amounts of linguistic and cultural data, ensuring that the legacy of this partnership would continue to grow even after their departure. As the Orion's engines began their warm-up sequence, a ceremonial farewell was held at the landing site. Xylian musicians played traditional wind instruments, their haunting melodies filling the air with a poignant reminder of the planet's unique culture. One by one, the crew members boarded the ship, each carrying with them artifacts, gifts, and memories of their time on Xylurian. Alara was the last to board. Before she stepped onto the ramp, Seneth approached, extending a hand in the Xylian gesture of friendship they had come to know well. Captain Miles, you leave a part of your spirit here with us. You are always welcome to return, as a friend and as an ally. Alara grasped his hand, her heart full. Thank you, Seneth. Take care of this world and your people. Remember, you are not alone in the stars anymore. With that final exchange, Alara turned and walked up the ramp. The doors of the Orion closed behind her, and the ship slowly ascended into the sky, leaving behind a world transformed by mutual respect and a shared commitment to a brighter future. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, Alara took one last look at the planet below. Xylurian, once mysterious and unconquerable, now shone brightly, a testament to what can be achieved when disparate worlds unite under the banner of peace and understanding. The future was uncertain, but for Xylurian and its people, the dawn of a new era had just begun.